any political gathering. So I told him, I said, look, if you don't come to Jos, there is every likelihood that, Babagana Kingibe was going to be elected. And I know you didn't want it. So you better come to Jos, no matter how late. And he drove all the way from Kaduna to Jos. By the time he came to Jos, it was about 3, 4 a.m. And he called for a meeting in Alhaji Ayakwande's house. I do not know what he discussed with the late MKO Abiola. I didn't know. I was not privy to the meeting, and he did not tell me. But when we got to the meeting in Ambassador Kwande's house, all what he told me was that, Turaki, I said, yes, sir. He said, step down for MKO Abiola. I said, okay, sir. I've stepped down. So, not until, we came back to Kaduna, because after the second round and Abiola won, Abiola, Lady Yaradua, and myself were on the same flight. So Abiola dropped us in Kaduna and then proceeded to Lagos. It was in Kaduna that he was telling me this was what he agreed with MKO Abiola. So then, of course, we waited for a long time. It took time before Abiola announced his running mate. What I now came to understand was that Abiola was put under pressure by the SDP governors then. They threatened him and said, look, if you don't take Kingibe, we are not going to support you. And the reason being that all of them got their tickets when Kingibe was the chairman of SDP. So, and Abiola felt that it was a risk worth taking. So, and I think he decided to discard, the agreement he had with the lady Yaradua, and of course nominated Kingibe as running mate.
Atiku. Then he was also asked, now that you were in the driver's seat, where you had to choose your own running mates in 2019, in 2023, especially, why did you reject Wike? His response.
I want you to maybe compare that a bit to the last elections, 2023, when you decided not to pick the current minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike, as your running mate. And some people believe that might have cost you the election. Do you regret not choosing Wike as your running mate?
No, not at all. Because, you see, in 2019, when I won the ticket in Port Harcourt, and I came back here and then went straight to Abeokuta to meet my boss, President Obasanjo, and told him, Mr. President, I have got the ticket. So he asked me, he said, okay, from where is your running mate going to come from? I said, of course, it's either southeast or southwest. He said, no, leave southwest. Because I was there for 8 years. Go to southeast. I said, okay, sir. Do you have anybody in mind? He said, yes. The first person he suggested was Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. So I told him Ngozi was not a member of our party. I believe if I forward the name to the party, they will reject. He said, okay. He said, what about Soludo? I said, Soludo too was not a member of our party, so they will not accept. And I said, what about Peter Obi? I said, Peter Obi is a member of the party. He said, okay, take him. I said, okay, sir.
So that was it.
That was it. So I came back here in this very same building, very same room, and I saw a meeting of the party leaders. Then I was cited by Uche Secondus and others. including Wike himself, Tamwal, I remember there were about 7 of them. I said, look, I have been to my boss and this is what he said. Do you have any objection? You are leaders of the party and also leaders of the governance forum. They said, no, we don't have objection. I said, okay, go and announce. Now, I came under a lot of criticism after that. They said I did not consult with the party enough. So in 2023, I threw the whole thing to the party. I said, okay, set up a committee and recommend 3 people for me to pick as running mate. And they set up a committee and they came with a recommendation, number 1, number 2, and number 3. So I picked number 1.
Who are the other 2? Number 1, I'm guessing, was Okola.
Yes, and the other one was Wike, I think number 2, and number 3, I don't. No. Yeah. Udom, that's right.
So you didn't pick Wike solely because he was the number 1?
He wasn't.
Again, with Wike is said to have responded to that, yeah, fine, come and be president then. You know, that you did not regret not picking me. Oh, yeah, come and be president then. You know. Anyway, on their coalition, and if Atiku will be running for presidency in 2027 again, here is his answer.
Okay. And now, let's focusing a bit on what's going on in Nigeria with President Tinubu just recently declaring a state of emergency. Just earlier today, I believe, Obasanjo said that Nigeria's democracy is dying. Do you agree? Do you think the situation is very dire?
It is very dire, no doubt about that. I feel disappointed. The next generation after me, many of them had been governors, had been senators. Instead of me to see an improvement in the level of governance at the state level and so on and so forth, I don't see it. So I feel a little bit distressed.
But now you formed a coalition, and included in that coalition is Nasir El-Rufai and possibly Peter Obi. People are asking how successful that coalition can be going into 2027 if everyone heading the coalition wants to be president. So who do you think is going to head the coalition, and are you going to run for president again?
We had a similar, what will I say, merger in 2014. I mean, excuse me.
Sorry, sir.
And there were about 4 of us, is it 2 or 3? We all ran for president, and one of us emerged, and we all supported the one who emerged, and he won.
So you're going to run again?
I don't know, because there has to be, first of all, a viable platform, and more than any other time in the political history of this country, particularly since the return of democracy, I have not seen Nigeria in dire need of, an experience and.
Okay.
Leadership is, finally, talking about women in politics, as well as the persecution or harassment that women in politics are subjected to. Using Natasha Akuti's case as a case study, here is where Atiku directly called Abiola a sexual harasser. And funnily, right, Atiku said, the National Assembly is corrupt, their leadership is corrupt, no doubt, and he has no apology for that. Atiku, they talk to somebody else is corrupt. And I don't know if I would call that oxymoron. I don't know. But it's kind of like ironical, by the way, right? But here, I haven't heard anything from Abiola since, because normally you would have probably heard them make a statement or, put out a statement that Atiku called Abiola. It's been 48 hours now, right? that Atiku called Abiola a sexual harasser, women harasser, for real, like a sexual predator. That is the number 3 man in that contraption. Now listen to this part.
I want to ask another question that I've been thinking about. When I was looking at the SDP primaries then, 92, the person who came forth was a woman, Sarah Jibril. She got 950 votes. Since then, it seems there's been a decline of women, participation in leadership positions in Nigeria. Do you think that what I'm saying is like an accurate representation of the situation for women in politics in Nigeria?
Yes, it is disheartening or disappointing. I don't know what to say, which word to use about the decline. I remember when we were in office, the president once called me and said, Mr. Vice President, in which states in the north can we get a woman governor? I think at that point in time I said, possibly in Taraba, and we tried, it didn't work. But eventually I think I supported the late Mama Taraba, and she did very well. Actually, she won, and they just took it away from her. The courts, again, took it away from her. So, and I think the women need to be encouraged. They need to be encouraged and need to be supported. Yeah.
Yeah. The new president of Namibia is a woman, and her vice president is also a woman.
Yes, I'm aware.
Yeah, she recently spoke a bit in support of Senator Natasha Akpoti-Addo, who's a woman senator in Nigeria, who's currently going possibly a recall process, but she's currently been suspended from the Senate. And a lot of people view her suspension as meaning that the PDP is weak or opposition is weak. Do you believe that the PDP has been weakened?
Yes, definitely. The PDP is weak because we have a compromised leadership in the party, and there is no doubt about that.
Were you surprised that the state of emergency passed so easily in the National Assembly?
I was not surprised because I know the leadership is corrupt. I have no apologies about that. And they could do anything. And the Senate president is known actually to be, to be having those type of character, even when he was a governor. So I got the reports quite a lot.
You got reports that when Abiola was a governor, he was corrupt?
He was corrupt. Not only he was corrupt, but he was also in the habit of abusing, women. Yeah.
Oh, you got those reports before?
Yeah, I got that report before.
So there have also been allegations that there has been payment being made to legislators to vote, for or against what the president announced, the state of emergency and suspension of Fubara. But these allegations have come up before. I remember I spoke to Wabara, who's a former Senate president, and he said that even in the Senate during the third term era, that there were allegations of vote buying. Is this unusual for Nigeria's National Assembly, or is this how things go?
Well, it all depends on the leadership of the particular time, of the National Assembly. Of course, during Wabara's time, we had allegations of bribery, and lots of money was brought on the floor of the National Assembly, by members to say, look, this is the money they brought to us, to buy us. But it's not the case with the current National Assembly. There have been allegations of corruption and vote buying by the executive on almost every aspect of the National Assembly. Yeah.
Mm.
Atiku, ladies and gentlemen, let's move to something else again. A few weeks back, well, it's been like reoccurring anyway, for months now. A few weeks back, the entire social media was saturated with the stories of Sharia courts in Yoruba land. It became very much controversial enough that some Yoruba governors or the governors in Yoruba land started making their own public declaration. No, it's never going to happen. Never. Not true. No Sharia. This and that. While the Sharia proponents continue to say whether we like it or not, Sharia is coming to Yoruba land. So a lot of us believe that the only reason why they are pushing this their political Sharia is no other reason than the normal one, which is the religious control, subjugation. It is never about the religion itself. It's just about control. Something that I think majority of them in the southern part of Nigeria, especially in Yoruba land, where you have, some of those guys who want to, or who believes that one way or the other, they are northerners because they are connected by religion. So they've been fantasizing somehow, like fantasizing how it's going to be like to have a Sharia in Yoruba land. Oyo State, yeah, was where the news first broke out, okay? In fact, it was presented as if it was already being built, or it was already built, like it's already active, right? Anyway, Solo Makinde Ibadan was one of the state governors in Yoruba land to say, never, forget it, it's not going to happen. I didn't even know that they've taken themselves to court on the matter, Baba, in Ibadan, in Oyo State. Anyway, there is a video of the same Solo Makinde Ibadan, right, who was at an Islamic program. And according to him, you see, Sharia is not that bad. Maybe it's not that bad, as long as anybody who wants to use Sharia to settle their own dispute can indeed go and use the Sharia and go to Sharia courts. I'm telling you, Baba, honestly, see, a lot of you probably think this Satan of Yokoto and his agents and other Fulani terrorists who have been angling and then, waiting in their sleeper cells to wreak whatever it is their plan for Yoruba land, to wreak their havoc, as Some of you think that they are going to mount horses, or they are going to mount bikes, or they're going to come on APC, armored personnel carriers, and they're going to be shooting, and they're going to be firing this or that, and if they dare us, we're going to fight them and defeat them. They don't bond them well. You say Yoruba land is, some of you may be wrong. Because the destruction of Yoruba land is not really going to be the wielding of the biggest weapons, or who has the biggest gun, or who can shoot the most, or who has the biggest or the largest soldiers. I think the destruction of Yoruba land has been orchestrated by these people, will be done internally. We have weak men leading Yoruba land. Unfortunately, their priority is not the same as what should have been the priority of their own people. But here is Solo Makinde Ibadan on the matter, politics, explaining it away and say, well, if it's just as if to say it's actually about a dispute resolution, political Sharia.
I came back from Ghana to Ibadan, 2 a.m. this morning. And about Timo Punch, I think it was Punch, I don't know. They said Governor lọ sí court láti lọ ṣe interpretation the Sharia panel tí wọ́n ṣe ní Ọ̀yọ́. And first, anything they've already nínú paper yẹn, that came from my chief press secretary, CPS. Yes, I've said something to Joe, but that is not my position. My position, only pé tí thank God àwọn adájọ́ wà níbí. Anything tó bá wà nínú constitution wa, we will support. However, my own interpretation because ó ti ń ṣẹlẹ̀ everywhere. I made a statement that I think most